Texas.
This is 13 Minutes to Magic Texas, an abbreviated limited series podcast about the TAOM, SAM, FISM, NACM combined convention in Arlington, Texas on August the 30th through September the 2nd, which we call Magic Texas. I am one of your hosts, Scott Wells.
And I'm Dal Sanders, the president of TAOM. That's the Texas Association of Magicians, and one of the co-producers of Magic Texas.
And I'm Eric Hogue. I'm the vice president of the Texas Association of Magicians, and I'm also serving as the chief operating officer for the Magic Texas Festival, the big convention that's coming up, the reason why we're all here.
Every 2 weeks, we bring you information, updates, and highlights from Magic Texas. This week, we thought we would give you some more information as to the registration fees. Some questions have been raised as to why are we paying higher fees than we have in the past. The TAOM registration fees have traditionally been fairly lower than what they are going to be then this year, but there are reasons why that we are needing to have the higher fees here this year. Dal, I'm going to let you start with this.
Yeah, well, this really was a decision that had to be made. I think most of our conventions in the United States have been keeping the prices affordable for, great reasons, altruistic reasons, but it's not a workable situation. We are, TAOM and SAM both, had been keeping the prices low, and everything's more expensive now. Everything is more expensive. Right. People are complaining about, they complain about the price, but then they complain about, I've seen the same act a dozen times.
Yeah, right.
So something's got to give. And so we looked at the history of the combined conventions with the SAM and IBM, and surprised to find out that as far back as 2006, the combined convention was $495. All the combined conventions we've had been $495.
So it's not a raise from
It's not
previous...
a raise from a combined convention level. Right? Mm-hmm. Now it is higher than SAM conventions by themselves or TAOM conventions by themselves. But
but you could also say you're not just going to an TAOM or an SAM. You're also going to FISM, which is kind of a big deal.
FISM and ACM, which is a big deal. Exactly where I was going next. I was going to point out, Scott and I went to the last FISM and ACM in Quebec, and it was more expensive.
And that's great for you guys. That's just wonderful. But for me, it's the 100th birthday of the Dallas Magic Club. Now, that's just the icing on the cake. So that's what I'm excited about.
And that's how we all ended up in this same bathtub together. It's it's the 100th anniversary of the Dallas Magic Club, and I'm so proud of our little Dallas Magic Club.
But you know the story about the king, right? He had his wise men that they went out, and he said, I want you to bring to me the knowledge of the world. And they brought back like 50 volumes. And he said, that's too big. It's too big. Make it smaller. Condense it. And so they went back, they condensed it, and they brought back 10 volumes. He said, that's still too big. Condense it. Bring it back. They came back with 1 volume. He said, it's still too big. They came back with a page. He said, it's still too big. Finally, they came back, and they said, here's the knowledge of the world. There ain't no free lunch. You want a convention like what we're putting together? There ain't no free lunch.
Eric, I've known you for a long time, and I never know where you're going when you get those stories going. But
I mean, think about what we're able to offer to people.
Yeah.
I mean, FISM North America, SAM, TAOM,
the only
incredible.
way for somebody in North America to compete in the World Championship in Italy in 2025 is to come and compete in Arlington.
The path through Italy is through Texas, or path to Italy is through Texas.
Absolutely. And that's a big deal right there. I mean, we don't think of our contest as being that big a deal, but if we think of it like the World Cup or some of these other sporting events.
U.S. Open, whatever.
U.S. Open, yeah. They don't do it every year. They do it every 3 or 4 years, like the Olympics. They come together. They go through regionals to get the very best of the best of the best. And so
you got an excellent point over there that I think is important to note is the judging that we'll be having, because the judges they're just not like someone who happens to be at the convention at the right time saying, hey, could you help judge? They have gone through exclusive type of training, proprietary training, in order to be a FISM judge. So a FISM judge is different.
Speaking as a FISM judge.
Yes, which you are.
I am.
Tell me a little bit about what you had to do.
I'm one of 6 people.
In the U.S.?
In the U.S. One of 6 certified FISM judges. There might be 7 now, but it's still a very, very low number. And I had to be trained. I had to be taught what to look for. I had to...
Yeah, to travel.
Yeah. I had to be judged. You know, I was... the last thing that I did was I attended FISM and ACM in Quebec in 2022. Yeah, 2021, and I was a guest judge. And boy, talk about feeling like the redheaded stepchild. Here's this FISM judge, and here's that FISM judge, and here's another FISM judge. Oh yeah, and we also have Dal Sanders, who's from the SAM. and I didn't know I was being judged, but I got a score sheet back showing how I judged according to the other judges. And a few weeks later, they called and said, you passed the test. Would you like to be a FISM judge? And I said, oh, absolutely yes.
Right.
But it was a process. Sometimes they learn from judging videos of contests, but I actually saw actual contests and had to go and spend hours in the judges' room discussing the acts and what we liked and what we didn't like.
And so this is the reason I'm wanting you to bring up the detail on that, is because we have these FISM judges who are coming in.
From all over the world.
From all over the world. It's not just, as you said, the few who are in the U.S., and we have others from North America, from Mexico and Canada who are going to be coming in, as well as other places.
We have people from Europe coming in and from Asia. And
we're having to foot those expenses for their registration and other kinds of lodging, et cetera. So there are some expenses, I guess, that have to be made in order to have the right kind of judges, so we have the best contests, and we're able then to have the best experience, not only for the contestants, but also for the registrants to see.
The people, when they come to see these contests, and in every FISM organization I've ever seen, every FISM contest I've ever seen, the magic has just blown me away.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the most amazing things I can possibly, I have a pretty good vocabulary, but not big enough to describe some of the things I've seen in FISM and FISM organizations. I saw a guy who manipulated dust flying between his fingers and created a metal ring from just the dust, and then he turned it back to dust again. And then a few years later, he came back and he did a water act where he manipulated water. So, you know, just the FISM winners from last year, who we'll talk about in a little while.
Upcoming episode, they'll be coming up.
That's called a tease, folks. The guy who was the FISM Grand Prix winner just did a dancing Hank, but it was the most amazing dancing Hank I've ever seen. You saw that.
Yep, loved it.
And
the magic is great, but I'm going to go back to the COO part. That's wonderful, but this is a business we got to make happen, and that's why. Yeah, the registration may be a little more than what you're used to at an SAM or a TAOM, but just even look at the quality that you're getting.
Your value is more.
But look at what we're also trying to do with our fundraising to get sponsorships in there so that we can provide these type of acts, so that we can afford these judges, so that we can really make this something. You know, we always say in Texas, everything's a little bigger in Texas. We want to make that the case. We want this to be something special, something unique that will be remembered. It puts a mark, a positive mark out in the country and the world for magic.
Once in a lifetime, never to be repeated event.
Absolutely.
We've said that over and over again.
And so we've got to do what we can. And again, we're trying to hold down that registration fee as low as we can, but it is unique. It is different than a normal convention. And at the same time, we're looking for those sponsorships. And that's important as well, that we get those types of sponsorships.
Because those sponsorships are going to be added on to the money that we'll be receiving Magic Texas will be receiving from the registrants. And just real quickly to run through this and looking at the website, if you go to magictexas.com, magician registration is $4.95. A family or spouse registration is $3.45, and a youth adult chaperone, if you're just going to be accompanying youth, is $239, and for youth registration that's 17 and under is $239. So those are a little bit higher than what we typically have had, but again, in addition to that, these donations, corporate sponsorships, and individual sponsorships and donations we might receive are going to be going to help with making this an experience of a lifetime.
And that youth fee is going to include a actual magic camp experience for the kids. Mm-hmm. They're going to learn magic. They're going to get to take magic home. They're going to have top people teaching them and have a great time doing it.
We're going to be having another episode coming up about the youth because that's something individually that's going to be exciting.
And that's called a tease, everybody.
A lot of stuff that's happening. So I hope that you get a better idea about why it is that the registrations had to be upped a little bit here this year. Again, this is going to be for 2024. The following year, again, with Eric Hogue being our current vice president, will be coming in then, if all goes well, as the president for 2025, and we'll be having a different registration, which will be in line, I would think, with more of what the TOM typically and traditionally has been, because it'll be
back to normal
back
at that point.
That's right.
But
our new normal.
But that being said, I think we all need to just understand that registrations are going to be higher. Mm-hmm. If you want a good convention, if you don't want to see the same acts over and over and over again, right, you're going to have to expect higher registration. In
conventions in general, not just necessarily
not just ours, but all of them.
Yeah.
And just as an added bonus, what we're trying to do, since we are in the North Texas area, we are in a city that is a big entertainment venue. We're trying to work with some other companies like Six Flags, for example, and the Rangers and other organizations to try and get some opportunities for those who are registered to have some discounts and other things that they can take their families to.
Oh,
so
that's great.
It's not just the convention, but what can we do to make you have a wonderful experience at a wonderful event, entertainment city, literally. And so those are just some of the things that we're trying to make happen for this great convention.
Yeah, this really is going to be an incredible convention, and I cannot wait to see people come here and I can't wait to see the look on their faces when they see our venue, when they see what we're doing.
And other things are going to be going around there because we're going to be having a magic festival. Oh, I don't have time to tell you about that.
That's our time.
Our 13 minutes. Thank you very much. And thank you guys gals for coming and listening to this week's episode. That was Dal Sanders and Eric Hogue. This is Scott Wells. Bye-bye, y'all.